So we've treated the upper body. Now we're going to look at draping the lower leg so that we can do hot stone treatment. Very important to find a barrier. Kleenex is a great barrier if you have to open a cupboard or the hot stone unit, doorknobs. Kleenex is a great barrier so that you don't transfer the lubricant and all the client's DNA on your fingers around to other areas. It stops the cupboards from getting oily. It stops the blankets from getting oily as well. So great idea to make sure you have a Kleenex, box of Kleenex in the room. How we drape the leg is I get the Kleenex in the hand that is closest to the foot end of the client, and I lift up. Now at this end I don't have any oil up in this area, so I can lift under the blanket. Now this is very important. I take a mini step this way, and that allows me then to fold the blanket out of the way so that it's not going to impair our treatment. I can put the Kleenex away in my belt or in my pocket. Now I can use my hands because we're going to be washing the sheets after. We're not worried about getting oil on the sheets. I roll the sheet. Now notice what I do with my hands here. The lower hand, I pin that hand down so that the client never feels exposed. My upper hand here is a pulling hand, and I'm going to take a short step toward the head of the client, like so. And now I can tuck under the opposite leg. And here we can either drape at the buttock line, or if we get permission, which I have in this case, to drape higher, we can drape up so that we can treat the buttock area. Now, some therapists get very concerned about this. They say that the client is somehow going to be exposed. And what I want to just relay a little anatomy here. So the pelvic floor is right here, and the border of the sheet is here. We're a good 5 or 6 inches, 15 centimeters away. There's no risk of exposure at all. And the benefit of this type of drape under the opposite leg is it gives you good access to the muscles of the inner thigh and as well as the outer thigh and the hip. Now, Ontario therapists will know that there are sensitive areas, the buttocks and the upper inner thigh. Make sure you get verbal or written permission, whatever is required at your location, to treat those areas before you drape, just to ensure there's no misunderstandings with the client. So we've applied oil to the lubricant to the leg. By the way, we always use the biotone gel with hot stones. We don't use the cream or any other product because it's the easiest to get out of the stones, especially if there's any crevices or cracks in the stones, easiest to clean. So we're always using the biotone gel. I'm going to start again with my introduction of touch, then running my hands up the areas that I'm going to work, and then I turn the stones and I apply. Now the person is acclimatized, so it's we're not as concerned about shocking the person with the heat as we were when we started on the back, but you still want to start off with those 3 steps. So the leg is shaped like a cylinder, so we can use the stones, and these are mid-sized stones, by the way. When I use the leg, especially on somebody who's a more slender build, you can certainly use the mid-sized stones. So I'm going to go right into our treatment. And because of the cylinder shape of the leg, we can certainly do all the things we did on the back. We can do ringing, we can do scooping, we can do spreading techniques, and we can put a stone aside, and we can do palm kneading. So the same techniques we used on the back. We can also use a technique where we find a midline in the back of the thigh, and we can spread away. Now, what do we normally do in massage? We pummel that poor hamstring right into the thigh bone. And it can often be very tender for someone, especially if they've had sports injuries or some strains back here. But I suggest trying this first. Before you put pressure down into the bone, try this spreading apart technique, and then try the movement toward the midline. And if you clang a little bit with the stones, that's fine. That's part of the ambiance. It's not disturbing to the client. Okay, so we can do ringing, scooping, spreading, palmar kneading, and the new technique, because of the cylinder shape of the leg, we can do this spreading apart and gathering toward the midline. And that will work as well on the upper part of the calf muscle. So a few techniques that I like to do, I like to use the mid-sized stones up in the thigh and then the upper calf. And then for more specific techniques in the lower leg, I like to get the tool stones just because they're smaller. By the way, if you have a longer treatment, an 80-minute treatment, anybody that has arthritic change around their knees, using a set of hot stones can give a lot of relief. Just going around that joint space in the back and in the front when we have the person turn over. So a few things you can do with the tool stones in the back. We can do the combing technique. Again, in school, we often pummel that muscle into the tibia, the bone, and that's often very tender. So try either the spreading and gathering technique first, and you can also try the combing technique. And you'll find that the client will be much more receptive, much less tender, and it'll be a better massage for both of you. The leg, we certainly can move the leg around a little bit, so we can turn the knee out, and I can get into some of these muscles just in front of the strut bone and the fibula. Right down into the foot. And as well, we can turn the leg in a little bit. And this is really nice for sneaking just behind the shin bone, where a lot of people experience those shin splints. They may feel it at the front of the shin, but it often is coming from the tibialis posterior, behind the shin. So you can get just on that ledge, just above the ledge of bone, quite nicely. And into the foot. The calcaneus is a very tough spot to try and work with your thumbs. You can use your stones. You can circulate around the ankles and into the feet. You know, the foot contains several layers of muscles that can often be very hard with your thumbs to work. You can just get a stone and knead into those muscles. If you have a longer session, an 80-minute hot stone massage, you can do a lot of details in and around the toes. And you're not precluded from using your hands with a hot stone massage. It's just that most of the massage should be with the hot stones. But in little areas like the toes and such, you can certainly use your fingers to work those areas as well. So the next thing we're going to do is a pain-free iliotibial band IT band treatment. Now, you heard me right, a pain-free iliotibial band treatment. Usually we get the impression from our early days that this is a very painful area to treat, and I'm going to show you a technique using the stones and some other thoughts on how to effectively treat this. So we need to get permission to drape the buttocks from our client, which we've been given permission. Now, the iliotibial band is fed by the gluteal maximus muscle, which we see here, and then the small muscle in the front called the tensor fasciae lata, which we get in the supine position. First thing to do is back to the combing technique. First thing we do is we get back to the combing technique, and we go from the greater trochanter, we can feel it there, up toward the sacrum. So this helps to prepare the muscle, which has a great deal to do with the tone of the iliotibial band. So we want to do that first. I recommend going this way. Going in the other direction, it tends to separate the buttocks a bit. It might feel a little invasive, so I would go toward the midline. So once we do that, we then, I'm working across the table here, we reach for the leg, knee at 90-degree angle, and instead of digging into the iliotibial band, we're going to strum it like a guitar string. We're going to strum it. Now notice as I pull toward me, I'm pushing away. I'm rotating the hip internally as I pull toward me. Now I could certainly do the other direction as well. And I'd recommend going from both sides, where we externally rotate the hip while we push away from us. So this has a couple of benefits. One is the heat of the stone competes with the pain sensation that the person might feel from a very tight IT band. So there's some competition in the brain from that, and they're less likely to feel pain. I'm also adding proprioceptive signals because I'm moving the leg. So the brain is being bombarded with several different stimuli, and while it is, I'm strumming away at the iliotibial band. And you'll find typically that people will report there is absolutely no pain at all with this technique. Now, if you do need to press into the IT band at some point, do this cross fiber technique first to soften it up, and then you'll find that if you are working in, you'll find it much easier to do. So we're finished with the leg, and we'll just finish up with a set of hot stones, general, specific, general, and we'll go on to the other leg. So we finished with the person in the face down position, and as you know, we normally leave a hot towel for someone at the end of the treatment, but it's really hard to get to the back areas of the body. So just as a courtesy to the client, it's a really nice idea to take a hot towel and quickly do a wipe down of the lubricant off of the back and the legs. So you don't need an elaborate drape at all, just pulling down quickly. Give a little shake if the towel's a bit warm. And same approach as when we warm up our hands, just drop it down, let the person acclimatize to it, and then rest it. And you'll often see the person take a deep breath at this point. That means their autonomic nervous system is working. We're happy to see that. And just take a wipe down and try to get as much of the gel or oil off as you can. And that's all, just a nice quick one. At the bottom here, I sneak under, I don't need a Kleenex because I'm just sneaking, I'm using the the sheet. And just a quick drape up to just to the gluteal line there, and again, wiping down quickly. The client will very much appreciate being able to get dressed after and not having the sensation of having all that gel on the back of the body. Again, I'm reaching underneath the blanket. I'm not touching the blanket. I'm just touching the sheet. It's a very quick drape. And now we're ready to turn our client over into a face-up position.